Welcome back after the tea. That was a quick tea, isn't it? Not bad. We're back here. And I'm glad to see most of you back. And I'm sure some of you will be coming in as well. So we will continue on in this is the panel number 2. And panel number 2 is to do with heritage and craftsmanship, right? And 3 good speakers, 3 good viewpoints, and followed by which we will have a panel session as well. Craftsmanship is very important because I feel anything that becomes a heritage has to go through a series of processes. One, it has to culminate into a culture. And in order to become a culture, it has to be imbibed into norms and practices of people. And once that is done, if it's music or art, or that becomes a kind of a tradition, secondly. And then only when traditions become embedded into a behavior system of a society, it becomes a heritage. So what we're going to talk about are people who have seen things and done work with people of different culture and different society. So that will give us an idea of what craftsmanship can do. But remember, yesterday's craftsmanship was actually like today's manufacture. That's all they had at that point in time. As a product designer, I'm always aware when I'm going to a village and trying to say, oh, this is handicraft, and they say, no, this is manufacture. Because that's what they do. They manufacture with their hands. So then I had started having respect for what they do because I'm used to designing machines. They are the part of a machine, except that instead of a motor, their hand is moving left and right. So to us, it may be craftsmanship. To them, it is really something that works together, and they actually become a part of a machinery, a part of a system. So they don't see anything different. They just sit inside like a cockpit of an airplane, and they start working on this stuff. So this is something that I learned every time I go. I learn every time I go back to India, where I come from originally, and start talking about how do you do this? And then they make me sit down and do something, and I realize it's not about doing it, it's being a part of the whole deal. And what you create at that time is the finished goods. And if there's a change in specification, as a designer, I'm saying, oh, it's off by 5 millimeter. I stop doing that when I see them. It doesn't matter. It's supposed to hold water. Okay. It's supposed to look good. It's supposed to look good as I've been taught. Have you been able to do that? Yes. Okay. Done. You're now a craftsman, right? So that's how I learned that craftsmanship is actually manufacture that has crossed over. And probably today's manufacture will be somebody else's craftsmanship in the future. So let's look at it from that point of view and understand what goes on. So I have three speakers to introduce you today. So I'm going to start. One is Assistant Professor Galina Mihaleva. She is right here. She's my colleague, and she works with me here. And it's a pleasure working with her all the time. So she'll be talking about wearable technology between heritage and innovation. And that'll be followed by, I just had a very interesting talk with Francisca Yanani, and an architect and a designer. And immediately, it's one of those things you have when you say something, and if someone can finish your sentence, that means you know this person already. I felt like I knew him for a long time. I just talked to him 5 minutes ago. So I'd be very happy to listen to him. And then finally, Richard Cairns. I had a very long, good discussion about certain things and about Orang Laut and cultures of people and how I and both of us see certain things in the same way. And I really look forward to hearing him talk about his experience as a photographer and a documenter, if I want to call that. So let me start with the first one, right? Well, Assistant Professor Galina Mihaleva's work and research deal primarily with the dialogue between body and dress, and which she does excellently well. She runs a course that is completely oversubscribed. I wish I could get involved with it, but I realized that you have to work till 2 a.m. if you're working with her, so I'm kind of have to go home. So everybody works, and I'm amazed at the final, the fashion show that they put together, and recently we had an exhibition as well. Okay, and actually Galina in 1993 left Bulgaria and moved to USA to study at the Arizona State University. She holds a BFA and a MFA in Fine Arts and a PhD in Visual Arts from the Academy of Fine Arts in Sofia. And her thesis, The Role of the Designer in the Year of Smart textiles and wearable technology is something that is really her life work and teaching work here in Singapore as well. And right now, she's also the founder of Galina Couture in Scottsdale, Arizona, and she's always involved in fashion and some kind of design or the other. Her interest in fashion lies in exploring the extent how we might be able to accomplish higher state of connectivity between the body and our clothing, and that's very interesting when you actually see the result of her work. Okay, and as I said, she has been put together a paper that will talk about and focus primarily on the understanding of how the modern technological revolution is transforming the design process, the cultural heritage of traditional textile technique and craft, and key element of the creativity inspiration for smart textiles and design relate to social behavior and personal identity. So without ado, I'd like to invite Dr. Galina Mihaleva to give her presentation. Galina.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Pierre, for the warm introduction. And, of course, Andrea, for inviting me to be part of this wonderful event. Over the center is the lights. Okay. Over the center is diverse local cultures have been spreading throughout Asia, Africa, Europe, and all around the world, inspiring designers for textiles, fashion, ceramics, and decorations. Advances in technologies and cultural developments have brought about dramatic transformations in the development in organizations of design and methods and results. On the parallel basis, the cultural roads provide a suitable forum for exchanges in design information and design experiences, as well as insights in the diverse and cultural developments of different people in different continents, stimulating contemporary artistic and professional creativity. In certain parts of the world and in certain historical eras, here used to be, and it's still in many places, a complex relationship between design and identity connected to aspects as culture, heritage, religion, social status, and caste. The question arises on the power of cultural and heritage as a generating source for innovative design in today's technical, computerized, and globalized world. It is no secret that fashion constantly recycles the past. In the collections of the leading contemporary designers, we often find reminiscences of style from earlier times, textures, colors, decorative motifs, all repair, but not exactly the same form, because the materials and technology evolved at very high place above all, because the context in which we live was a very profound influence in our mood, our sensibility, and our taste. We found inspiration in early times and places and reinterpret them following the parameters of our own environment, generally updated by contemporary interpretations in the original lines, cuts, patterns, and textiles. This allows them to draw inspiration from their continents with view of generating new creations which blend all the charm and know-how to the past with new trends and new technologies. Historical heritage then is fundamental source for information and inspiration. And here I would like to give two great examples, two great projects. One it's in Europe and one it's in India. The Textmedian Digital Library basically stands for Textile and Apparel Euro-Mediterranean Heritage for Innovation, and it's transnational project. The overall objective of Textmedian is to create transitional cluster to increase the competitiveness of the partners' territory in textile and clothing sector by fostering the focus on quality, design, and innovation. The project specific objects are to identify, share, and explore the partners' textile and acknowledge base of productive know-how and create heritage as a driver for innovation and inspiration source for the production of new high added value and environmental friendly products. The creative transformational cluster combining the partners' economic, technological, and creative resources in order to integrate fashion and design know-how in the productive chain, support the interaction between emerging designers, textile museums, training, and research centers. And the slide, you can see that's the page for the Textmedian Digital Library. And the digital library is based on the project, which now contains a first selection of 800 samples, original designs, fabrics, apparel, complements, and sample books, and which will develop into a great repository of European textile history. The Textmedian project established a design challenge it's called Design Challenge project, whose purpose is to offer and enhance for members of the new generation to participate in the fashion design training scheme. The aim of the initiative is to improve the competitive advantage of the textile sector by encouraging a new contemporary reinterpretation of the heritage of the textile. And here in the bottom, it's a student project that was inspired from textile that it's in the left top corner. So the next project that I selected, it's the National Resource Center, which is a network of resource center of the National Institute of Fashion Technology in India, which is collecting and preserving heritage resources through the applications of Indian crafts and textiles. The initiatives of the National Resource Center in developing a digital national design repertoire to preserve the traditional skills from instruction-infused and process of revival and optimized utilization of traditional crafts and contemporary fashion design. The soul of Indian fashion design lies in the rich cultural heritage. Indian civilization, which is immense diversity and a history spanning centers, has developed its own language of color, structure, form of expression in objects, art, forms, and performances. Unlike the West, where the position of the craft is quite ambitious, in the whole world of art, the Indian tradition always held an art and craft in one influent whole. National Institute of Fashion Technology, established in 1987, has been engaged in developing the Indian fashion idiom through training young fashion designers in humanizing design with culture and emotions. And you can see the examples on the slide. The Institute has constantly initiated a plan to develop a repository of traditional craft resources throughout its network of resource centers coordinated by the National Resource Center. The design process and the Indian fashion designers. The design process begins with research and observation. The uniqueness of the creation of the designer lies in his and her interpretation of the design source. Sources of inspiration exist throughout everything and should be influenced in the design process so that becomes constant in the creative process. Anything visual or tactile, in fact sensual, can be a source of inspiration in fashion design. The sources of inspiration play the following roles: increasing originality and creativity, making the design process easy, maintaining harmony and uniformity in the collection, understanding the fashion appropriation of the season, increasing aesthetic understanding of the designers. World over, designers of clothing and textiles draw inspiration from current garments, historic and ethnic costumes, fabric materials, artworks, including paintings, sculptures, architecture, literature, movies, music, theater, and other phenomena. Symbiotic relation between Indian crafts and fashion design. Typically, Indian fashion designer also cut their design ideas from all over the above sources. However, craft played the most important role compared to any of the other sources for inspiration. Craft provides a different advantages to India. And here, in this photo, we can see this is the newest collection of Valentino, who is a fashion designer with extremely conservative look. We can see that he also got absolutely inspired from the beauty of the Indian fabrics, colors, and textures, and this is his new collection, but he's not alone. We can see that also Yves Saint Laurent from the previous collections, Gian Galliano, Jean-Paul Gaultier, they also designed collections inspired from India. So those are lists of the different techniques that are required from the textile industry. One of them is definitely weaving, and is the oldest one. Then it's knitting, crochet, manipulating fabrics, pleading, applique, beading, embroidery, printing, 3D printing, and felting. And here we can see different examples of those techniques, how they're interpreted in those new extravagant designs, the use of feathers in very abstract way. The next technique, it's manipulation with the 3D applique. The first design is the design from Givenchy, and then the other three are from the 3D printed collection of Iris van Herpen. Those are two interesting examples how we can create sustainable fashion designs using the craft, the traditional craft. The first example, it's a recycled dress using the bottle tops, and the second one is with fusing plastic. The next technique, it's embroidery. We can see the elaborated opulent pearl dress from Bellman, and then the pants in the second picture, it's embellished with crystal clusters. So again, we are using the traditional techniques, but in very new and innovative way. I'm placing the embroidery into the pants in the bottom portion of the body. It's quite unique. Those are the newest prints for the season. And they're also inspired from the heritage. The first one from Dress van Noten is the floral overprint. They're inspired from Baroque also. You can see the gold remaining through the whole collection. And then the next black and white graphic collection, it's inspired from Art Deco, again transferring the old into the new look for the season. Felting and fusing, the first and the oldest technique. It's interpreted in those two avant-garde designs. Then knitting, the 3D sculptural knitwear in the both photos from Comme des Garçons. Again, they give absolutely new and very modern look to the pieces. And then in the end is the 3D printing, which remains the feel of lace, lacing the 3D printing, but it's totally new material that it's used and very innovative. And now I would like to introduce you to the wearable technology and the use of crafts. The first dress on the left, it's Maggie Ort, was designed in 1998. Basically, this dress is considered the beginning of the wearable technology. And she's using, again, the old traditional technique, the craft of beading, using conductive gold beads with conductive material. So when the beads will touch the conductive material, then the whole dress will lit up. And that's why the dress is called a firefly dress, and same with the necklace. And the next picture, we can see the hand-woven cotton, conductive yarns, and silver ink interactive wall installation. It's again Maggie's Ort work. And then next slide, it's introducing beading and embroidery in the wearable technology, traditional embroidery technique to incorporate LED. It's on your right. And then the magnificent black dress with an embroidered parent with the LED. And then the picture in the middle, that's the lily pad, which is embroidered and incorporated as a decorative element into the wearable technology. Another technique, printing. Here in this case, we have a stretchable circuitry, which are printed into scarves. This is Anke Lo's collection. And then it's a great photo from our exhibit that Pierre mentioned, wearable technology. And those two garments in the front, they are inspired from traditional clothing. Then we have Audrey's dress. She's using also the lily pad with beading around, and it's exposed, so became part of the design. And on the top, it's her 3D printed metal ornament. Another student's project, Juliana from product design, she crocheted stretch sensor, which is in the middle of the garment, which allowed the swimmer to lit up the LEDs that are hanging from the bathing suit by stretching. Another technique, pleading, was used for this incredible kinetic garment. In the upper torso, those are pleats that can remove down and up. Depends from the motion sensor when detects somebody that is coming closer to the garment. Another great example from Jamin, also product design student, that's the wooden textile. Student from animation, she created this musical piece using manipulating textile techniques by pleading and crushing the textile. And the Transcendence, it's one of my projects. I don't know if you can see the leather top, but this leather top was based on technique that it's Indian technique for not stitching but stretching the skin. So you create one whole piece without seams, and it's very easy to embed the technology behind and the bend sensor on the left shoulder. The next project is collection of 6 dresses, and they are inspired from the paper cut technique in Southeast Asia, using felt and laser cuts, the new way of the new replacement of the paper cut technique. And then the skirt, it's using technique shibori. We can see the examples better in those 2 dresses. And 2 more using the same technique. Another dress. It's inspired, this one it's inspired from the West. It's the Botanical Desert Garden and the installation from Chihuli. And this is the last dress that it's using pleading technique, and we just finished this photo shoot like a week ago in Phoenix. Thank you.